there was a day to have the fucking headphones on, it's probably today. My hair feels a little bit of a mess. But today was a great day, besties. Not only did I finish Two Kinds of Truth, which I told you I was going to do, I also started and completed Dark Sacred Night. So I've been keeping a little list here. I had to write out a list, partially so I knew which books I had read because I started reading them out of order. And I've gone back and read them mostly in publication order. I still need to read Bloodwork from way back in the day, but at this point, I'm pretty sure Bloodwork is going to be the last one that I read. This is how it is. I know that one follows Terry McCaleb, and I don't like that man, and that man is dead in the universe at this point. He was the subject of, was he in the Narrows? I think that he was the subject of the Narrows. So like, his story is not that pressing, and not only is he dead, I'm pretty sure we learned everything that we needed to know about him in another one of these books that I did read, A Darkness More Than Night. So between Darkness More Than Night and the Narrows, like, Terry is not important to me. So let's go back to Two Kinds of Truth. This one, first, I need to issue an apology to the cartels. I think yesterday I told you guys that part of what was happening in this story was the cartels were running a pill mill, or they were taking people who were like indigent, and they were using them to go to the shady doctors that they had on the payroll to get valid prescriptions that they would then go to the pharmacy. And that's when the first murder, like everybody up in arms, not everybody up in arms, but it sparked like the investigation, was the death of a pharmacist dad and son duo at this little mom and pop place. And so I said, oh, the cartel was in it. Besties, that was not what happened. Eventually, what happened was the Russians had like moved in and pushed the cartel out, if the cartel was ever involved in the first place. So apologies to the cartel. I did not mean to besmirch your name. It was the Russians in this book. It was the Russians. It was all their fault. And actually, I'm not even sure they were Russian. Some of these people were just Eastern European. Some of them were just Eastern European, and they were in a Russian gang. So take that for whatever you will. But as part of the investigation, my man Hieronymus had to go undercover, which I think is crazy. It's crazy that you would allow Hieronymus Bosch to go undercover when Hieronymus Bosch is not good. I say not good. The people behind the paywall already know this, but one of my favorite shows, and this is very problematic of me, one of my favorite shows is The Closer from TNT. It aired in the mid 2000s, like I want to say 2008 going into the mid 2010s, and then it had a spinoff show that I never really watched because Kira Sedgwick wasn't in the spinoff, so it's like, what is the point even? But it did exist, and the spinoff I think was moderately successful. It ran for at least 5 seasons, I want to say, called Major Crimes. And I think that Hieronymus and Brenda Lee Johnson of the Priority Murder Squad, I don't know why I said murder like that, but they're like two halves of the same coin, wherein like, yes, they're doing their jobs, but they're kind of like the kind of a police officer you would not want a real police officer to be like. And so the idea of Hieronymus being undercover was didn't work out for me. And so he was undercover trying to act like a junkie, but he's not a junkie. And so he was attempting his best junkie ways, and ultimately it didn't even work out for him because his cover got blown. Because if you remember, at the same time that all of this is happening, he's investigating this double murder and this pill mill and how everything factors into all of that. He's also trying to like clear his name because a case from like 30 years ago is being, brought back up, and they're saying that he planted evidence. And again, I stress to say this, Hieronymus Bosch may be the kind of cop that you would not want somebody to be like, but he's not the kind of person who's like, I'm just going to plant evidence. So in my heart of hearts, I knew that Hieronymus did not do this, but I wasn't quite sure the levels of conspiracy we were going to get to. And baby, there was a conspiracy afoot. So at first his cover gets blown. And so the Russians, they take him onto this plane that doesn't have any doors. It's like an open side plane. And they force him in there, and they take him up, and they're going to like push him out over the ocean, which is crazy. I also need you guys to remember that this is like an old man. Like, he's easily in his 60s at this point. Like easily. At this point in the timeline of the Hieronymus universe, he has already been pushed out of the department because he has exceeded his 25 years. So I want to say he was like pushing 30 years by the time he actually retired. And he started in the 1970s, like fresh off the boat from Vietnam. He did like a semester at university, and then the college students were like, oh my goodness, you were in Vietnam, and they like tarred and feathered him. And he said, oh, let me go be a cop. So fresh off the boat from Vietnam, this man signed up to run over and go back and be a police officer. So he was 30 years when he left. Then we skip forward a couple of years, and he comes back to the department on a 5-year contract. So he's with the department for like 35 years. Then he gets pushed out again because some foolishness, but he gets pushed out. And so now he is working as a reserved officer, and he's been in the reserve officer in San Fernando for like 2 years. So this man has like almost 4 decades of law enforcement experience by the time he is undercover in this airplane about to get pushed out over the ocean. So he's up there, and it's a fight for his life, but it's okay because he has a weapon. Now, the Russians don't know that he has a weapon, but Mickey Holler's investigator, Cisco, he gave him a knee brace and a cane, and the cane had a hidden dagger. And so, thankfully, he was able to push one of the Russians out. So he pushed one Russian over the edge, down into the watery depths below, and he died in the ocean. The other Russian, he was able to shank like he was in a prison fight. And so that's done. And then he gets the pilot to land the plane back in Los Angeles County because they had been down near the Mexico border because for whatever reason, Michael Connelly loves to get people down near the Mexican border for a sheriff and a police officer that is based in Los Angeles County. Although I guess now he's technically, San Fernando is still in LA County. Yes. Anyway, so that is the first half of the storyline. That's the pill mill all wrapped up. They can't really prosecute nobody because one is dead and the other one died in the ocean. So, like, there we go. Murder closed by other means. So now we just have the conspiracy about who planted the evidence. And besties, it was quite the conspiracy. It involved a lawyer manufacturing evidence from a case he had already tried. Then he had his wife bribing the evidence security man because they actually they had the contract on his mortgage. And they were like, yeah, you can't sell your house even though you owe $500,000. And so, but what you can do to get that $500,000 is slip in some evidence. Mind you, apparently this evidence man was already like secretly breaking into the evidence locker anyway and spiriting away high value items and going to pawn shops. So it's like, not only were you already doing thievery, you were thievering so bad that you could not come up with the $500,000 that you owed these people, to where they had you like doing this, like they had you planting evidence so they could say that somebody else, my other client who is now dead, did it, and I can now sue the city for millions of dollars because this other person has been wrongfully in prison. The layers and levels to the conspiracy was so crazy for the conspiracy to be unraveling in like literally the last hour of the book. But it was so good. It was so good. I said this, I think, behind the paywall on Sunday. Sunday was the 30th, right? That the Mickey Holler in the Hieronymus Bosch books is not the same Mickey Holler that you get when you actually read his books. Mickey Holler is so insufferable in the Lincoln Lawyer series. And there are like shades and glimmers, but you also have to remember that Bosch is like a cop through and through, and his half-brother Mickey Holler is a defense attorney. And so even though he needed his half-brother to be doing this, like he's like, oh my goodness, he's so slimy. He's such a scumbag. And that's just like, sir, your good name is kind of a stretch, but your name is like literally being dragged through the mud in the front page of the Los Angeles Times. Your brother needed to do whatever he was doing to stop that from happening. And so the fact that the book, it kind of ends with him like judging Mickey is so crazy to me. So crazy to me. Particularly again, when I know that in the Law of Innocence, he's going to be running over and running around and running paycheck, which is even crazier to me. Well, I guess it's not that crazy because apparently by the time we get to the Law of Innocence, hasn't happened yet. This man is going to be diagnosed with cancer, which isn't that crazy given the fact that he was exposed to radiation in The Overlook, where some of the plot was maybe there's going to be a terrorist attack, and the book takes place over like 12 hours, and they're trying to like track down this medical grade radioactive material that they use for cancer treatment, and he gets exposed to a large dose of this radiation in an uncontrolled setting as they try and track this down. Plot twist, is not actually a terrorist attack in Los Angeles in that book. It's more just like a self-contained story, but it's a fun time because it also has like this tension between him and the FBI agent on the case, because it's another one who's a love interest that ultimately goes nowhere because Bosch, his greatest love is Elizabeth Wish, and he got that woman killed. So you hate to see it. In Two Kinds of Truth, he also meets a new Elizabeth, and by the time we start reading Dark Sacred Night, they're living together, and he's trying to get her clean. That's the other thing. The book also ends with him, like, low-key kidnapping this woman and, like, holding her hostage so she doesn't become a junkie anymore. And besties, I'm pretty sure it's only because her name is Elizabeth. Her name is Elizabeth, and she had a daughter, and her daughter was, like, murdered, and I feel like Bosch was doing a little bit too much there, because in Nine Dragons, his daughter got kidnapped, and he thought she was going to die in that book. And then his wife, Elizabeth, did die. And so I think this was supposed to like call back to that. But besties, this Elizabeth, this junkie lady, and Daisy, who is dead, like, no. No. We didn't need none of that. None of that needed to be there, but it was for whatever strange reason. Then I read, while I was at work, Dark Sacred Night. So I finished Two Kinds of Truth at the... It was like, when did I finish it? I want to say it was as I left the restaurant. I had like 20 minutes of it left. And so I finished that on the drive to where I had lunch. So I had lunch after I got off at the restaurant, and about 2-hour-ish break. So I ate lunch, and then I had to show up at the hotel to, although did I really need to be at the hotel tonight? Not really. Between you and I, besties, I did not need to be there, but I was. And so while I was waiting to go to the hotel, and I was finishing up like the last little minutes of Two Kinds of Truth, I wasn't necessarily certain that I wanted to jump straight into Dark Sacred Night, because at the beginning of the year, I had this idea that I was going to read the works of one Anna Wong. And I was like, Anna Wong could be kind of Christmassy. I don't think they're like explicitly Christmassy stories, but when I read Twisted Love, I started that in January, and then I didn't finish it until, I want to say, June. I picked it up like 6 months apart, neither here nor there. And I wouldn't say they had like wintry vibes. It was like, a fun, time. And I'm looking for fun time vibes here. And so I was like, maybe I'll like break up some of the the Michael Connelly with an Anna Wong. But then Anna Wong did not win in the poll that I posted in Aaron's Discord. So I did jump straight into Dark Sacred Night when it was very clear that that was going to be the winner. And this was it was just as fun as I wanted it to be in my head and my heart. But there's something I didn't say yesterday. So yesterday I told you guys there are two things you got to know when you're reading a Hieronymus, a Michael Connelly story, particularly a Hieronymus side of the story, one of his series. The two things I told you were, one, what we talked about yesterday about the internal affairs person is probably a secret serial killer, and they're hiding bodies left, right, and center. They're doing something sketchy. We should not trust them, right? The second thing you need to know is Bosch loves street justice. And the levels of street justice that we almost got in Dark Sacred Night, we have not seen since The Black Ice, which is book 2 in the series. For reference, Dark Sacred Night is the 25th book in the universe, and I think it's the 21st book where Bosch is the main character, and it's the second book in the Renee Ballard spinoff series, right? So, like, we are... Also, this book, I want to say, came out 2018. The first book came out in 1990. We are decades into this. And the levels of street justice we got, again, not seen for decades. Dark Sacred Night follows a much simpler... Is it actually simpler? It's actually not. It's not at all simpler, because you have Renee Ballard, and we see her going on these like calls. They keep pulling her off of this main investigation. But what happens at the very beginning, the very genesis of their partnership, is Bosch shows up in Hollywood Division where he worked for years, and he picks a filing cabinet to try and get some material that he thought were still in there, but they weren't there. They had been moved to storage. So that's where they meet. And then that's where we realize that he's trying to find that Daisy girl. So remember Elizabeth from the last book? Her daughter Daisy is dead, gone missing somewhere. Not missing somewhere. She's definitely dead. We know that she's dead. And so her case had gone cold, and Bosch is like, I'm gonna find your daughter for you. I'm gonna find who murdered your daughter. So that was the first thing. that's what brings them together. And then Renee is like, why was this man rifling through filing cabinets? And instead of like turning him in or whatever, because again, she too, both of these bitches done hit every branch on the stupid bitch tree on their crashing down to the ground. Like they whacked every branch. So she's like, I'm going to team up with him. I'm going to find him. I'm going to work with him. We're going to get to the bottom of this together as a unit. So because she is still actually a police officer, she still actively has a job she has to do. We get called out on like these random little things. And I will say that her random calls do build into the sort of a breadcrumbing, the sort of, when you look back, you're like, oh my goodness, we did actually have all the pieces to like solve this mystery, which did not used to be the case. Or maybe it's just at this point, I've read so many Michael Connelly stories, I see him now and I see how he, breadcrumbs things, and it's not necessarily how I would think he would breadcrumb things. But now I'm just so used to it. I'm like, oh, I did not solve it before Renee did, but I think a better reader than me probably could have. I'm just always around. I'm here for the ride, besties. I think that Michael Connelly just tells like a really compelling story, and because these two idiots have whacked every branch of the dumb bitch tree, I'm sat for it. But I do think that if you wanted to play along, if you wanted to guess, you probably could have gotten the killer a lot for the main storyline far before I did. So she has all these tangents. Bosch at this point is still kind of working in San Fernando. He's still technically a reserve officer until there is a problem. So there is what looks to be a gang hit on somebody, and they're trying to, actually, this is what it is. At the very beginning of the book, Bosch is getting it's not really, I don't think it's I think actually there's a search warrant for this, what was I looking for a mechanic's garage to try and like find something on another cold case. This information was brought to him by a confidential informant. The confidential informant winds up dead, and then they start investigating that murder, and that leads the gang that did it to Bosch, and Bosch again gets kidnapped this time. He gets held hostage, which I guess is a nice change of pace for us, the reader. So he gets held hostage. He's out of commission. They're trying to find him. Bad things are happening to Bosch. You kind of hate to see it, but at the same time, like, Bosch has done so many horrible things. Like, maybe he earned it a little bit. And so ultimately what we get for the real, investigation into Daisy's murder is both Bosch and Renee Ballard breaking several laws. And then what really killed me about them both breaking several laws is Renee Ballard has the audacity in the epilogue, which is done in a duet narration, which was kind of crazy. She has the audacity, the nerve, the unmitigated gall to turn to Bosch and go, I can't believe you did that. This woman literally broke into the warehouse, okay? Like, both of them were investigating, and their investigation was just breaking the law. And so when Bosch, at the end of it, decided he was going to call up one of the murder victims' parents who may or may not have mob connections and be like, I know who murdered your daughter. They're at this location. Maybe if you want to, off them, there they are. And then he also called the police. He did call the police and be like, hey, there's a murder suspect. They're at this location, but you might want to hurry because you got competition. The police do win in. The police do get there first, even though they got called second. So, like, clearly that man didn't want to avenge his daughter too badly. But it's just like Renee Ballard being so gooped and gagged that happened. When, mind you, even in the Late Show that we read yesterday, again, same thing. Like, she be lying to people. She be reckless. She don't be telling people what she's doing. And so when she got, kidnapped by that one person who assaulted the sex worker, and she wound up in the upside down house. And she, not only did that happen in that book, right? So then in your next outing, the very next outing in Dark Sacred Night, you're up on the rooftop breaking into maybe a murder. You think this man maybe, not only did they think this person murdered somebody, you think they held them, that this person dismembered them, kept their body in bleach. Like, this person did horrific things, and you're just gonna break into the warehouse with not telling, nobody knows where you are. Like, the idea that Bosch was actually able to like find her and save her, like this, like literally this close, being riddled with bullets herself. Renee, come on, Renee. At least when Bosch got kidnapped, he was at home. Like, I guess to be fair to Renee, she also got kidnapped when she was at her grandma's house. So The storylines, the universe continues to deliver. I'm very much excited. Cannot get Nightfire, which is the next book I need to read, from the library, but it's under 15 hours, so I will be using a Spotify credit for that. Also, I know that the Spotify Wrapped things are like, I know they're pre-recorded. I know there's like a is essentially getting a free cameo. So when Michael Connelly showed up on my phone this morning, thanking me for being in the top listeners of Michael Connelly audiobooks on Spotify.com, I was goop dag and shaking. Now, I think at this point, I had really only listened to The Lincoln Lawyer on Spotify and maybe one other thing. But I purchased at least 4 or 5 Lincoln Lawyer or Harry Bosch books through Amazon or even Libro. I know I got a couple on Libro. And I'm probably going to have to buy a couple more. I think I'm going to have to buy The Dark Hours and Desert Star because the wait on those is too long. The wait on those is too long. It's like 12 or 16 weeks for both of those books. And I am so close. I might have to spend the $24 and just bite the bullet and grab both of those. Because I think they're actually currently on sale. I don't know if it's going to be from Audible or if it's going to be from Libro, but from one of those audiobook platforms is happening. Other thing, actually, I don't know why I said it. I don't know why. It probably will be Audible because I don't have at least one credit at the moment. And I think I have another credit coming to me on the 4th. So it probably will be Audible. So today was a great day for Michael Connelly. It was a great day for Monty. I don't know if I'm going to jump straight into the Nightfire tomorrow when I'm at work. But I might, or I might, swing back on over to Anna Wong. I'm not actually in the Kings of Greed series just yet. I'm going to read them. I don't want to say in publication order because I think that these If Love series actually got published first. So I'm going to go with Twisted. And so I'm on Twisted Games. That's book 2, right? Which is crazy because I remember years ago when Jess from Peace Love Books was doing her little romance book club, they actually read Twisted Games, and I tried reading the ebook version of it. I think I got Kindle Unlimited. I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to read this, and then I never did. I never read it, but now here I am all these years later, kind of like The Late Show. All these years later, here I come reading these books. I don't know if these are going to be good, but again, I did like Twisted Love. It was a silly fun time, so I think I'm going to enjoy these. I think I'm also maybe on Friday because I do have Friday off. Part of me wants to go and wants to go and grab The Striker from Barnes and Noble. Go on a little bit of a road trip. I'll see what the weather's like. Otherwise, I might just buy it on line and have it shipped to me because that's currently a $5 deal, and that's a pretty chunky book to get for $5, particularly these days where every time I look at a fucking book price, it's like $30. Craziness. So thanks for being here with me today. Thanks for allowing me to tell you what's happening in the world of Michael Connelly. I'm happy that I was actually able to finish Dark Sacred Night. When I was leaving work, I was like, maybe I won't finish it tonight. But then I saw that I had 40 minutes, and at 3 times speed, that's 15 minutes. So I was like, I can drive around for 15 minutes before I go home, and so that's what I did. But like I said, I don't know if I'm gonna jump straight into Nightfire tomorrow. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but we'll find out together. And then Friday also has to be a day. It's my only day off for at least the next week and a half. So I need Friday to do laundry and meal prep, and so I'm probably going to listen to something on that day, and we'll see what that is on Friday. So my reading is going to be pretty good, even on Sunday, which wouldn't necessarily be the greatest reading day for me. I have a double. I have to go from the hotel straight to the restaurant, so this will be a very productive reading week. But again, the videos might be going up a little bit late. Tomorrow and Friday, they should be normal. Saturday is going to be a late video, and then Sunday as well will probably be another one of those late videos. But bear with me. They will be posted eventually. I promise. But until then, and until next time.